Hi, everyone. Welcome to Little Miss Recap. My name's Amy.
Hi, I'm Amanda, and
Hi,
this is Leo.
Amanda. Hi, Leo.
Hello.
Hi, Leo.
Yeah, he's
How are
here.
you?
He's working hard today.
So, Amanda, I think it's important to start off with some disclaimers
Okay.
because this is a real debated and heated case.
People are real into this one. I feel like
Yeah,
this is almost John Bonet level. Almost. Nothing's John
almost.
Bonet.
Right, right.
And
So,
but John Bonet also has had 20 years of people talking about it.
so I really want to let people know that we are not crime experts. We have
Nope.
zero background in criminology.
Correct.
We have
I
zero
lived
back
with a public defender. That's as good as I get.
We have zero background in lawyering.
Yes. Again, I lived with someone when they went to law school, but that's as good as it gets.
Yep. And we are, for the purposes of this episode, we
Mhm.
are just talking about the documentary. I know
Yes.
there's a lot of stuff that happens outside of it. I
Hmm.
have a few notes about that at the end, but we are not going to get into many aspects of this case that people are talking about outside of the documentary.
Yes.
Just
And
make that clear.
the only thing I was really upset about that they didn't mention in the documentary is the Apple Watch stuff.
I have something on that.
And we can talk
Yeah.
about that
Mhm.
because to me that's important.
Yeah. It's important to know that we are just gonna be offering our opinions. They
Yeah,
could be
we're just
right,
having
they could
fun.
be wrong. We're just having fun. We're watching a documentary about a man
But
who died.
yeah, I mean, as much fun as we can have talking about somebody who,
Yeah.
you know, I was telling Todd about it last night. 'Cause I'm like, "Do you know anything about Karen Reed?" He's like, I know the name.
Yeah,
He's
Timmy
not a
knows
true
nothing about it
he's not a
either.
true crime guy. He doesn't care."
Yeah.
So I was giving him the highlights and I was like, the part that broke my heart in the documentary, and we'll get there, but was when she said that night her father was like, "Don't go
I
out.
know,
It's
and
a
she didn't listen
blizzard."
to
And
him.
she's like, "God damn it, if I." And how many of
Mhm.
those moments in all of our lives where we like, if I
Oh,
just
yeah.
hadn't
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So all right, should we just start? This is gonna be done in 2 parts, guys.
Yes.
So, for this episode, we're gonna cover this is Body in the Snow: The Trial of Karen Reed, and
On
it's on
HBO Max.
Max.
Mhm.
It's also on Discovery ID, I believe.
Okay.
It's
I
an
still
ID
call it
thing.
HBO Max.
Mhm. I
I'm
know.
old. It's okay.
And it's 5 episodes in total. We're gonna try to get through 3,
Okay.
but probably end up getting through 2. I have, let me tell you,
Oh god, how many pages of
15
notes?
pages of notes.
Okay, here we go.
Ugh. So, I
Guys, it'll be
just
as long as it is.
I
We'll see what
just
happens.
I just feel like it's a lot. Now,
It's
I
a
wanna
lot.
share with you, Amanda, so that we can have it up on our screens while we're doing
Did you
this.
make a good timeline for us?
No, I mean,
Oh.
I have that little chart that I
Oh, okay.
stole that shows
Okay.
all the relationships. I feel
Oh,
like we
yeah,
should
yeah, yeah,
have that
that's helpful.
on our desktops.
That's
Okay.
super helpful. Okay,
Mhm.
I'm opening it as we speak.
All right. Here we go.
Yes.
This is Body in the Snow, A Body in the Snow: The Trial of Karen Reed. It is out now, current,
Mhm.
2025.
Mhm.
Okay, so episode 1, we meet Karen and we are getting her side of the story.
Mhm.
She says she and John had a fight earlier that day. So this all happened January 28th, 2022.
Yes.
And she and John O'Keefe, Boston
Mhm.
police officer, had
Mhm.
had a fight earlier that day and she went home to cool off. So he lives in Canton
Right.
and she is south of Canton.
Yeah. They did not live in the same town. It sounds like their relationship was very volatile.
Oh, we're going to get there.
Yeah,
Mhm.
real volatile.
Because a blizzard was coming, she wanted to be with people, and so she decided to go
Mhm.
back to Canton that night.
Yep.
6 p.m., she says she spoke with her dad and complained about what happened earlier. Now, she does say, I hated complaining to my parents about John because they really liked him.
Mhm. Okay.
And he advised her to stay home, and she didn't listen. And she says, imagine where we would be today if I listened.
Mhm.
Listen to your parents, kids. God damn it.
Or not. It depends. We know with 100% certainty now she should have listened to her father,
Mhm, mhm.
but,
Yeah.
could have gone a different way.
You never know. All right, so the documentary opens with her timeline of what happened that night. So I'm going to
Mhm.
run through that, and then I want to talk to you about her likability.
Okay.
So let's go
So
through the
I promised the BDS we would have a
yes,
conversation about her
yes.
likability.
Let's go through the timeline. So 8:51, she says she meets up with John and friends at CF McCarthy's. At 10:54, they go next door to the Waterfall Bar and Grill. And Jen and Matt McCabe were there. Brian
Mhm.
and Nicole Albert were there, and Brian
Mhm.
Higgins was there.
Mhm.
It was getting late, and John says, he says to Karen, Jen invited us to the Alberts.
Mhm.
Okay.
So invited
Karen
us to her sister's home.
Yeah. Karen had only met the Alberts for the first time last weekend. Now she knew Jem McCabe
Mhm.
because her husband, I think, trained or was the coach for John O'Keefe's niece and nephew's basketball.
Right, to whom Karen was very close. John was
Yes.
raising his niece and nephew.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, she says, because I didn't know them really well, I was like a little apprehensive, but I said, okay. And she says, quote, because everyone does better when John can blow off some steam. Because John is real full of steam. Now,
Ooh.
John O'Keefe, I know I mentioned this, Boston police
Yes.
officer, but so is Brian Albert, the
Yes.
house we're going to.
So is Brian Higgins.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Isn't he ATF?
Maybe
Yeah,
he's
he's
but he's
ATF.
law enforcement.
Yeah.
They're
Yep.
all in
They're
the law
all law
enforcement.
enforcement.
Yep.
So they leave at 12:10. Now I need to talk about this. Give me the
How
floor, please, for my
how
little country town.
Oh, okay.
I live in a town like this where people drive from bars drunk
Uh-huh.
all the time.
Uh-huh.
I do not. I am always the designated driver when
Uh-huh.
when Timmy and I go somewhere.
Right.
But I would be lying if I didn't say when we first moved up here, 10, 15 years ago, we would do this.
Mhm.
We only lived a mile from the bar. We
Yeah,
would
and you're like, "How
totally
much
do
trouble can
this.
I get in?" Yep.
Yes. What changed a lot changed for me. I've come to know a lot of people over the years who've lost people in drunk
Mhm.
driving accidents, but also having kids
Yeah.
changes everything for you. So did I do it when I was younger? Yes. And
Yeah.
I'm ashamed of that and it's stupid.
Yeah. But
I didn't do it
I
when
did
I
too.
was in my 40s like these people are doing.
Yeah. These people are messy.
They're taking the drinks from the bar
Yeah, they've
in
got
the
roadies.
glass.
They've got their roadies with them.
Okay, I've done a roadie situation in
Mhm.
my past. You kind of try to conceal it a little bit. You don't
Yeah.
drive around with the glass, the cocktail glass.
Haven't you all heard of a McDonald's cup? I mean,
I
we just covered there's something wrong with Aunt Diane.
Yes,
Put it in the
yes,
McDonald's
yes.
cup. What's
Jesus
wrong with you people?
Christ. So so this is the part that really bothers me is that they're all driving around so drunk.
Yeah, they're all real drunk.
And I just keep thinking like my kids could be on that road. I
Mhm.
could be on that road. Our
Mhm.
listeners could be on that road. Like
Mhm.
it's ugh. And they're cops, and they should fucking know better.
They
They're
should, but
first responders. Do you know how many accidents they've probably responded to and have seen the damage of this?
they all think they're above it though. They all
Any
think they're above the law.
Anyway, off my
Okay.
soapbox, let me put it away.
Leo
Okay.
could have been on the road. He gets in the
Yes.
car once a year
Yes, he could have been on the road.
when he has to go to the vet.
So they drive 2.5 miles to 34 Fairview Road, which I feel bad for the people who live at this place
I
now
do too.
because wow.
Similarly, did I feel bad for the people who live at John Bonet's house?
Mhm. Mhm.
Like, if you live at a
Mhm.
famous address like this, I feel bad for you.
Yeah. So they get there, and according to Karen, when they get there, the house is dark and
Mhm.
she doesn't see any familiar vehicles. So she asks John, and this is all Karen's account.
Mhm.
She says she asked John to go in and check and make sure that they're welcome.
Yep.
He gets
I
out
would
of
do
the
the same thing, I think.
he gets out of the car to run in and takes with him her full vodka soda, which was in the cup holder.
Mhm.
He goes through the breezeway, not the front door. He goes
Right.
through the breezeway, and she says, I waited a minute and he doesn't come back. And it only took 2 or 3 minutes for me to get irritated. When she says she was irritated,
I don't think you wanna piss this woman off.
she went from 0 to 200 in five
Uh-huh.
seconds.
Uh-huh.
She started calling him, and the voicemails are like, you're a fucking loser. Go fuck yourself. You're a fucking pervert. It's wild.
It is the way these 2 talk to each other, to
Hmm.
me, is bonkers.
And the way that she
Yep.
lights up.
Mhm.
Mm. So 10 minutes go by. She claims he didn't come back. And so she left him there and she went back to his house. Okay. Now we meet Jennifer Coffindaffer.
Okay.
Think, I think I'm saying that right.
It's quite a name.
She's a special agent, FBI retired. And she says the wounds you are seeing are presenting as a motor vehicle accident. She hit him and she left him to die in the snow.
Mhm.
She's arrested. Karen is arrested 3 days later, and they arrest her, Amanda, like a fucking SWAT team.
I know, it's awful.
I know.
I feel like we do this too much. We've seen this in other documentaries that
Mhm.
people come rolling in like
Well, I'm gonna get political here for a second.
Like Jody Hildebrandt's the one I'm thinking about. They came well,
Yeah,
she deserved it, but
yeah. I'm gonna get political and say this is what we get when our country is flooded with guns.
mhm.
The police have no idea what they're going into.
Yeah, they
They
have
could
to
be
be that
arresting
prepared.
somebody who has 15 AR-15s in their house.
Yeah,
They don't know.
they don't know.
So it's kind of a catch-22 here. So they charge her with vehicular manslaughter.
Mhm.
Okay. She gets her lawyers. Now, what did you think of her lawyers?
I liked him
You were hot for David Yannetti, weren't you?
a little bit,
Yeah, I knew you
a little
were. I
bit,
knew you would
a
be.
little bit.
Saw it. Saw it.
Yeah, yeah.
Alan Jackson, not so much.
Not so much, not
Mm-mm,
so much, but
mm-mm.
yeah, no, yeah. Mhm,
Alan
mhm.
Jackson is
We need to
hitting
bring up a
the.
photo of him again because
Alan Jackson's hitting the whey protein.
yeah, probably, probably. That's fine, that's fine.
Alan Jackson eats a lot of hard boiled eggs.
Gross, gross.
Um,
Ugh.
so she calls David Yannetti first because
Mhm,
she knows him, and he says, "This is going to be big. We need to get some more help here."
yeah.
So she calls her. So Karen was in finance, but she was also an adjunct instructor at, oh, what school?
Oh, where was she?
Oh,
Hold on
started
here.
with the B, right? Oh,
It wasn't Brandeis.
no,
Karen Reed College professor, Bentley University.
Bentley. Her dad was a department chair there.
Mhm,
And so they know their way around academia. So she
mhm.
rings up Harvard and is like, "I need a lawyer. Who can I get?" And they tell her, "Go for the people who got Kevin Spacey off." Okay.
'Kay.
So Alan and Liza come in. Liza
Uh-huh.
Little and Alan Jackson, they come in.
Yeah,
And they're big LA lawyers who got Kevin Spacey out of trouble, if you will.
sort of.
Sort of. And Alan says he took one look at the photos of John O'Keefe's body and he was like, there is no way this man was hit by a car.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, the day after, this is January 29th, right?
Yes.
2022. Karen says she was confused, she was hungover, and she never heard from John again. So there was part of her that was like, did I run him over? Now, Amanda, would that be your first thought?
No. I
Something happened to give her that thought, is what
yeah,
I believe. And I
okay.
will roll out my theory at the end of this
Okay,
documentary. Okay.
okay.
It's
It
very
is an odd
similar.
thought. It was an odd thought to me. It wouldn't occur to me.
Yeah, it's just, I wouldn't be like, did I run him over? I would be like, where is he?
Yeah. Why didn't he come home?
Yeah.
Particularly given
So,
their relationship, I think my first assumption would be, "Who's he banging?"
yeah, she even says that she thought, was he trying to get to me and I didn't see him?
Mhm.
Okay. Put a pin in that. She had the music blasting and the heater going, and she's like, could I have not heard him? Could I have hit him? She even says that she said to David, "What if I did hit him? What if I bumped him and he died indirectly, but as a result of me dying?" And David said, "Well, yeah, then you have culpability in that.
Mhm.
Like you're guilty."
Yeah. Not of second-degree murder, but of vehicular manslaughter.
You know what? Now might be a good time to pause and just have a quick conversation about what your thought was coming into this.
Okay.
Like, what was your theory on her guilt or innocence, or what happened before you watched the documentary, if you can remember?
I was on the I don't know what happened. I thought it was more likely than not that she was not responsible for his death. I
Okay.
really think something happened in that house.
Okay.
I don't trust Brian Higgins and Brian Albert at all.
And that was before watching the
That was before
documentary.
watching this.
Okay. All right.
Um, I don't trust them at all. I
Okay.
knew enough about the Apple Watch stuff to go, he was in that house. The
Mhm.
fact that they got rid of the dog right away, the fact that they ripped up all of the flooring,
Mhm.
right? Like all of this stuff feels real hinky to me.
Yeah, I
Regardless,
agree.
I think given the level of corruption in Canton and therefore the impact to the investigation, she could not be convicted.
I agree with you 100%. That is
Okay.
exactly how I felt coming in. I listened a lot to Caught in My Web, Jody
Yep.
Weber, while
I
this
listened to
was
a lot
all
of that too.
going on.
And you've had her on here.
I had her on here. We talked about it. And I truly believed before I watched this documentary that he went into the house. He was in a fight.
Mhm.
They placed him outside and they framed her. That was
Mhm.
my thought process coming into this.
Yeah.
It's changed slightly,
Okay.
but that was my thought coming into this.
Okay.
So, all right. So she's running around like, "Oh my god, did I hit him?" Now, here's I think where they made their mistake, the state. They overcharged her.
Yes.
They get a grand jury together and they indict her for second-degree murder, which implies intent.
Intent, yeah.
And that is upgraded from involuntary manslaughter. I really thought they probably could have made a case for involuntary
I
manslaughter.
think so too. I think sometimes I think something similar happened with your boyfriend.
Hmm.
One may ask which
Which one?
boyfriend?
Which one?
Eric Menendez.
Okay.
That
Yeah.
they overcharge.
They overcharged Casey Anthony too, I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. So this was a huge jump and this could be a life sentence.
Yeah.
She's in her 40s. This could be a life sentence.
She is fighting for her life right now.
Yep.
And she says it multiple times in the documentary, and that's not hyperbole. She is
Right.
fighting for her life.
Murder with malice and forethought, and David Yannetti was floored. But he's like, John O'Keefe's a Boston cop, and the blue
Mhm.
wall went up, and Karen Reed is outside of that blue wall.
Yeah.
So let's talk about her likability.
Okay.
I can 100%, because at first I was like, why wouldn't they have her take the stand? I know now.
Oh, I know now why too.
Yeah.
They couldn't put her on the stand.
She is, and does not, it is not lost on me that we are talking about a woman.
Mhm.
And women are held to a certain standard in likability.
Agreed.
She is not likable.
No.
I'm just gonna say it. She is not likable to me.
No. I wouldn't wanna be her friend. She's
Nope.
not the kind of person I'd want in my day-to-day life.
Yep.
I don't like people in my personal space who are erratic, who
Mhm.
are so quick to anger. Like, that's
Mhm.
not how I live my life. I live my
Right.
life very drama-free and very calm
Yeah.
by design.
Yeah.
She's not that person, but that doesn't have a fucking thing to do
Right.
with anything,
I felt that there were a lot of moments in this
or it shouldn't have a thing to
documentary.
do with anything.
I agree. I think there was a lot of time, many times in this documentary, where I thought she was being very disrespectful to John O'Keefe's family.
I agree.
And that doesn't sit well with me,
No,
but that doesn't make her a murderer.
no, it doesn't.
And that's what the justice system is for.
Right.
Because you can take really shitty people who have not committed a crime and they hopefully can seek out some kind of justice. Does
Agreed.
that always happen? No, absolutely not.
No.
OJ is a great case of
Hmm.
this. His celebrity got him off.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
OJ's guilty, guys, by the way.
yeah. Hot take. We think OJ did it.
Mhm.
You know why? Because he wrote a book that said, if I did it, where he detailed everything he did.
You
Okay.
know why?
Anyway.
Because her blood was in his fucking shoes. But
Right.
anyway.
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 And he'd been beating the shit out of her for
Yeah.
years. But
Yeah.
anyway.
Anyway.
Um, One of the things that I think about a lot in the legal system is the need, the requirement to remove emotion from it and to remove how you feel about the people from it, because that shouldn't matter.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, I, God forbid something happened to me.
Right.
My mother would want to murder that person. I can tell you with 100% certainty, my
Yes.
mother would want to murder that person. My
Mhm.
mother's also very against the death penalty.
Mhm.
There's a reason she doesn't make that decision.
Right.
There's a reason we go through a justice system that's supposed to
Mhm.
be impartial, that's supposed to be removed from emotion. Victim impact statements happen, and I think they're important.
Me too.
But the fact that we like or don't like Karen doesn't matter. But because she's
But
a woman and
mhm.
she's
It does
unlikable,
matter.
it has, I think, very much clouded people's thoughts on the case,
Mhm.
thoughts on her.
Mhm.
I got to tell you, doesn't sound like John O'Keefe was a real good guy either.
We saw this in the Menendez
Mhm.
trial.
Mhm.
Uh, the jury was split. All men felt
All
one
women.
way, all women felt another
Yep.
way.
Yep. Yep.
And so, I mean, you can't jurors are people.
Yeah.
You can't find a jury that's gonna not have an opinion about Karen Reed.
Mhm.
You just have to hope that at the end of the day, that they understand and part of this, I think the whole jury system needs to be completely redone because people should be paid a livable wage for jury duty.
You don't think the, $13 a day
No,
you make does it? No,
no,
I agree.
no.
I'm one of those people, A, who looks forward to when I get called to jury
Mhm.
duty, and B, find it to be one of the most important things we can do as
It's
citizens.
so
The
important
only other thing that's more important we do as citizens is
is
vote.
voting.
That's
Mhm.
it.
Yeah, I think that whatever your job is, you should be paid that day rate if you have to take time off from your job to be a juror.
Right, and I've
Okay,
lucky the times I've had to be a juror or I've been called into I've only been actually impaneled once, but I luckily have worked in jobs that I got paid
good,
for doing
good.
it that
But
day.
if you don't, you should be paid.
Absolutely.
So what we hope is that, there's some kind of oversight or some
Mhm,
kind of voice on the jury that is like that kind of weeds that stuff out.
mhm.
But I mean, we're human
Yeah.
and you're going to have this kind of stuff. I don't know. It's hard. But at the end of the day, she's not likable, doesn't make her a murderer. I
No,
agree.
she's not
Mhm.
likable.
Mhm.
What everybody on the jury needed to do was look at the facts of the case, not
Mhm.
the faces she made while she was sitting there, not anything. What
And
happened that night?
and
Period.
she was very concerned with how she looked in the
Oh, yeah.
courtroom.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
She was.
Yeah.
And I don't blame her. I would be too.
Yeah, because as women,
Yep.
we have to think about these things.
Mhm.
You don't wanna wear a blazer and look too strong.
But
You
you
don't wanna
wanna wear
wear
a shirt where that
Mhm.
might be low cut because then you
Yep.
look too like a
Yep.
floozy
We
and you're
saw
trying
this
to
with it was Jodi Arias.
Yeah.
They, like, nerded her up for
Yes.
court
Yeah.
so that, she
When
would
she was
look
really a
responsible. Yeah.
hot bombshell.
Yeah. Yeah. So, she's arrested in her boxer shorts and Proctor okay, so she's arrested. She's wearing boxer shorts
I felt bad for her.
and she has a little cardigan on over it
Yeah.
that she clearly just threw on because she saw the police coming, right?
Right. She's like, I don't have underwear on.
She's like, "Can I go in and get my shoes? Can I do this?" And they're like, "No, you're coming
She's in
with us."
slippers. I've answered the door in almost that exact same outfit.
Yep. So they arrest her, and as Michael Proctor, Trooper Michael
Mhm.
Proctor, you know that name if you know this case.
Yeah,
As
he's a
they're
rip.
walking away, he goes, "See how fucking crazy she is? She just cares about what she looks like on TV." Mm.
No, I think she, like, actually doesn't want her, meow, shown on television.
Wow, thank you for adapting my new language. Yes. Yeah,
Because I
she
think
didn't
that's
want her
cute.
meow out.
Right. Leo, can you do a meow for us? Meow.
So David Yannetti, so the defense is like, okay, they're getting ready to battle this, right?
Mhm,
And he gets an anonymous call from someone that's like, you need to look into the house. You need to look at the occupants of the house at 34 Fairview. This
mhm,
is not as clean cut as you think it
mm-mm.
is.
Yeah.
Okay. So this happened early on in the case and it helped the defense find a direction to go in. Now, since Brian Albert was a Boston sergeant and Brian Higgins was ATF, he was a
Mhm.
federal ATF agent who had a office in the Canton Police Department.
Right. Not
He was
uncommon, nothing weird there.
Yep, Karen's defense had a very hard time getting cell phone data because the blue wall was up.
Mhm.
Enter no, not yet, sorry. They get a cell expert real quick, and when they extract Jennifer McCabe's iPhone, she searched "has long to die in the cold" at 2:27 AM, and then it was deleted. Now,
Mhm.
is my worst fear that my grammatical error will follow me on national television?
Yeah.
If I were if I were Jen McCabe, would I be like, "Jesus Christ, I meant to type how."
Right. But you know what? She was drunk out of her mind too.
Yeah, yeah. So now enter Turtle Boy.
I'm gonna say I've gotten some texts from you before when you've been served.
Mhm, mhm,
Your grammar's
mhm.
not perfect. Same,
No.
same. You've gotten the same
No,
ones from me.
no,
It's fine.
yes. So Turtle Boy comes on the scene, okay? His name is Aiden Carney. He has a
The number of times that throughout this very serious documentary, we had to use the word
Turtle
turtle
Boy.
boy.
Mhm. Amanda, he is a former history teacher turned investigative reporter slash blogger.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm here for turtle boy.
He starts following the case and he lives in that area.
Mhm.
Karen reaches out to him and she's feeding him information and he gets real crazy about this.
Mhm.
And a defense attorney you okay, so people are like it is revealed and it comes out that the defense team is leaking evidence to him.
Yep.
And they say like a defense attorney using the media is not a big deal.
No,
Like
it happens all the
this has
time.
happened since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
People start supporting Karen and they start doing what they call standouts, where they stand outside and hold signs. And this is the beginning of the Free Karen Read. movement.
The free Karen Reed movement, you and I are gonna have opinions about this case.
Mhm.
The the mob mentality of these
Yeah, I don't like
people
it.
is really weird to me.
I don't like it. I don't like it.
I can't imagine getting that all like, standing outside a courthouse day after day after day after day because a
Mhm.
stranger to
So,
me.
let
It's just
me
so bizarre to me.
let me say this.
I gotta go watch my stories, I'm very busy.
I know we're solving crimes, other crimes.
Other crimes.
Um, I standing outside of a courtroom seems fine to me,
Mhm.
right? Like you believe in somebody's guilt, you
Yeah.
believe somebody, fine. You stand out there, you hold your sign.
If you could
You
get
don't
yourself to LA yesterday, you would've been out there with a free Eric Menendez sign.
100%. What's the
Mhm.
status there? Do we have an update?
I don't have an update.
Okay.
I was getting a massage this morning, I don't know
Okay.
what's happening.
So they my for me where it crosses the line is when they start harassing family members.
Yep.
They start like I will never forget. You guys know that I hate Scott Peterson. You know
Yes.
that I think he murdered Lacey Peterson 110%. Hot take.
Yes.
I will never forget his poor parents leaving the courthouse and the people outside screaming at them
I know. It
that
was
their son
awful.
should be dead. They should be ashamed of themselves for raising him.
Mhm. It's awful.
The families don't deserve that. The families did nothing wrong.
Mm-mm.
That's where it crosses a line for me.
I
I don't
agree.
like it.
I agree. You can be in support of anyone you want, but
Mhm.
anyway, the brothers Eric and Lyle Menendez long-awaited resentencing hearing stalled over state's risk assessment report.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
There you
Okay.
go.
All right.
Okay.
So the community is split now. Friends and family not talking over this case. Like it's intense in this
Mhm.
small town. And I was listening to Jody Weber because I went back and listened to like a few of her episodes before we did this just
Mhm.
to kind of and she had this whole episode where she talked about like the community's feelings and she didn't just make this up. She was like she watched the trial every day and da
Mhm.
da da.
It's her whole life right now.
Yeah. People like the community's feelings about this family, the Albert family and the McCabe family, they have been bullying this town for many, many decades. Like
Mhm.
they have the power and they wield it, which
Yeah.
is disgusting.
Yeah.
So, like, I could understand why the community is so
Divided.
divided over this. And I
I'm
said to, I was talking to Rebecca Sebastian from Criminality, and we were doing Long Island Serial Killer, which will be out next week. And I said to her, Karen Reed has become a symbol
Yeah.
for the people against these good old boy networks.
Yes, I agree.
People are fucking sick of this shit. And I live in an area where this is definitely a thing.
Absolutely, and then the fact that then she's then so unlikable
Yeah.
just makes it that much harder. I mean, I heard some story about how, like, these families were impacting, like, little league teams,
Yes.
and,
Yeah.
like,
That's what Jody was talking about.
who got to be on little league teams and
Yep.
who didn't, and
Yep.
it's like, Jesus Christ, like,
Yeah.
what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, let little
It's
kids be little kids.
I
It's
know, it's
weird.
bad, it's
Yeah.
bad. So, the FBI is saying that, Turtle Boy is tainting the jury pool, and he admits that's what he's trying to do.
Yeah.
See, this is where I have a problem.
Yeah,
Mm-mm.
exactly. Like,
Stay
if you
out of
wanna
it, dude.
report about something, like, take a Jody Weber. She's not trying to
Yeah.
influence a jury pool. She's just
Right.
reporting on what's happening and
Yep.
explaining it from a legal perspective.
Yep. This is I was just having this talk with my girls this morning. Like, we were
Mhm.
talking about a situation in their lives. I won't get
Okay.
into it. But I said, "My approach in situations is often do no harm."
Mhm.
Like, I might have an opinion about something, but I'm not gonna do something that's gonna cause an issue.
Agreed.
Just do no harm. Just
Yeah.
have your opinions,
Yeah.
but put your thumb on the scale.
Agreed.
Yeah. So, the crowd is wild. They're booing John's family. Alan Jackson says, "People don't understand that this town, citizens are pissed off because they've been dealing with this for decades and they're sick of it. And
Mhm.
everyone is connected to everyone, and that's a problem."
Yeah.
The judge before the trial creates a bumper zone where a buffer zone, bumper zone.
I was like, "What's a bumper zone? Are we going to play bumper cars?" Okay. Buffer zone.
Highway to
To
the
the bumper
bumper zone.
zone.
All right, so it's they can't wear shirts. They can't hold like they can't they can wear shirts, but they can't wear shirts that say things.
So
What is going down in this buffer zone?
the the judge decided we're going to hold the trial at hedonism. Everyone needs to be naked. No one can have signs. It'll be fine.
Ah, okay.
No
So
kidding. No one can have things saying how they feel about the case on their
right,
t-shirts.
right. So they try to find ways around it. One of the ways around it is Karen has said, "Wear pink to
Mhm.
support me." So everybody's wearing pink. Okay.
Sure, whatever.
And Karen's like, "I don't even I can't do Southern for her. She would be Boston. I can't do it." But she's
Her Boston accent is
yeah,
bonkers.
yeah. She's
It's
somebody
real
who
thick.
says like smart.
Smat.
She's
Oh yeah.
smart.
She sounds
Um,
like she could have walked right out of Goodwill Hunting.
100%. But she says, "I don't even like pink. I don't even give a shit. I just picked a color."
Yeah.
Okay. So I wrote here, how they ever managed to get a fucking jury is beyond me.
I know. Well,
This
and
is wild.
they're trying to do the second one now, and it
They're
took
doing it now.
weeks to come up with a jury.
They have it done though. It's
Yeah,
done.
yesterday I believe it was fully impaneled.
So, okay, I have a question that's of utter importance.
Oh, okay.
You know that I get sleep anxiety.
Yes.
This is a new thing that has happened to me as I'm nearing menopause.
Mhm.
I don't know how for so many years I got up and taught an 8 o'clock class
Mhm.
because now I would be so nervous I had to teach an 8 o'clock class. I would not be able to sleep.
Right.
So how do these lawyers get up at like 6 o'clock in the morning and go into this courtroom knowing the weight of their job and what they have to do is beyond me. I would be like drugging myself with 10 melatonin and
Right.
then I'd have the melatonin hangover.
It's what you do for a living.
I guess.
Like a surgeon, think about it.
Yeah.
Surgeons do the same thing. Like I've talked about it before when I had my thyroid surgery and I'm like panicked about the whole thing. And I'm watching all these people mill around outside talking about the Eagles game and what they did over the weekend.
Yep.
And I say to my dad, I'm like, this is just Monday morning for them, isn't it? He's like, yeah, nothing extraordinary is happening for them. Something extraordinary is happening for you, but for them,
Okay.
it's Monday morning. It's the same thing with attorneys like this. Now,
It's a good point.
there are bigger cases than others, and you get more anxious about other cases than not.
Yeah.
And I'm sure these guys were anxious going in there, but it's what they do for a living.
Yeah. I agree. So Karen makes a really good point at the end of episode 1. She says, you know, finding justice for John is finding who killed him,
Mm-hmm.
like finding out what happened.
Right.
It's not just, I'm not just trying to get myself off here. I'm trying to find justice for John.
Right. Right. And she says convicting me is not justice for John.
That's what she says.
And all of his friends, and I have empathy for his friends who were interviewed in this. I do. They lost their friend.
I do
I
too.
get it. Someone murders you, I'm going to be up there going, whoever they think it is, I'm going to be like, we need to put them in jail because they murdered my friend.
It's
I get
Timmy.
it.
It's Timmy.
It's Timmy. It's
Yeah.
always Timmy.
Or
Well, it's
my
always the
kids.
husband.
Or my kids.
Well, it could be your kids at any moment. But what I really want is for the right person to be
Yes.
held
Because
accountable.
that's justice.
That's justice.
Yeah. So,
And the
Judge,
right person being held accountable could be Karen Reed.
I agree. I agree.
So,
So episode 2 starts. We understand the judge is going to be Judge Canoni
mhm.
is her name. Adam Lawley is the lead prosecutor, and his opening statement is boring. And I would just like to give a moment to appreciate the power of rhetoric and
Yes,
those of us who teach it.
it's
And
real important to have a
this is
persuasive argument.
really fucking important. And this guy does not have a persuasive argument, but you know who does? David Yannetti.
That's right. Yeah,
Hmm.
Charlie would talk about this a lot as he would get ready
Yeah,
for
yeah.
opening and
I could
closing
write the shit out
statements.
of this, Amanda.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Could we go back real quick to the
Yeah,
judge's name?
Canoni. Is it Canoni?
Can you imagine going through elementary school with a name like Canoni? Anytime I hear a bad last name, as a lipneck who got
Right.
tortured in
Right, and I
elementary
was
school.
Barice, and I was tortured because I had big boobs, so I would be
Mm,
called breast Barice, that whole
I
thing.
was
Yeah.
fat, so I was lip snack, pick a snack.
Okay. Yep,
Yeah,
there you go.
it's
Yeah.
terrible. I always had
Kids are
empathy.
awesome in the
Kids are
80s.
great.
Mhm.
In the 80s? How about in the 2025s? They're not any better.
Yeah. So, David Yannetti's, opening statement is like, "This woman was framed by this corrupt group of people," like, it's
Mhm.
very strong and
Oh,
forceful.
yeah.
Poor John O'Keefe's parents are just kinda behind them. The courtroom's real tight.
It is.
Everybody's,
It's
like,
small.
really packed in there, and the mom just looks so sad, and I just felt so bad for her because
I have so much empathy for his
I
family. I
I do
do.
too. I do too.
Regardless of anything, their son was murdered or
Mhm.
their son died. Their son died.
Mhm.
Of course they're devastated. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I can always have empathy for a parent who's lost a child.
I agree. So let's remember, everybody, that Karen Reed took us through her version of the events up to
Mhm.
where John walks in the door. So now
Yes.
we get Jennifer McCabe on the stand,
Mhm.
and this story's going to pick up after supposedly Karen leaves or whatever.
She's not
She
particularly
says,
likable either.
no, she's not. She
No.
says what happened is she went over to the window at the house and she saw Karen Reed's SUV. She did a lookout.
Mhm.
She texted John O'Keefe, "Here, question mark, pull behind me. It's 12:31 a.m."
'Kay.
12:40, she texts him, "Hello, question mark." She cannot be certain whether they were still out front. Now, listening to Jody, this is something we didn't see in the trial, or we
Mhm.
didn't see in this documentary, but Karen Reed's phone connects to John O'Keefe's Wi-Fi at 12:36 a.m.
So she was home.
So we know she is home.
Yeah.
And Jody even said, like, thank God they had that because
Yeah.
it proved that she was home. So she just thought, well, Jen McCabe thinks, well, maybe they just decided not to come in. Now, 1:45 a.m., Jen McCabe says she leaves to go home. It's a blizzard, I wrote, and these fucking idiots are driving around drunk.
Yeah. I gotta say,
Just stay at the Alberts.
if it's a blizzard and I'm at my sister's house, like, imagine Jenny's at your house, it's a blizzard, she's supposed to go stay at your
Jenny.
parents' house. Imagine Jenny's normal
Sure.
and does
Okay.
imagine Jenny's
Yeah.
a sane person.
Sure.
She's at your house, she's supposed to go home, it's a blizzard. She'd
Yeah.
stay at your house.
She stays at my house anyway. She
Right,
never goes to my parents.
I know that, but you know what I mean, like,
Mhm.
if I
Mhm.
live 20 minutes from you and
I
I
would stay at your house.
yes,
Yes.
stay at anyone's house. I've stayed at people's houses when it started to snow.
I would stay at your house and I would kidnap Leo and cuddle with him.
He would enjoy that.
Yes.
Mhm.
So meanwhile, Karen gets home around 12:36 and she's calling him and she's screaming at him. "I
Ugh.
fucking hate you. I'm here with your kids. No one knows where you are, you fucking pervert."
The way they talk to each other is
Ugh,
so
it's
gross to
real
me.
bad. She says she became convinced that he was sleeping with someone. And
Yes.
she says, and there were multiple women in that neighborhood that John had banged. She says, "It's 1 in the morning and I'm with your niece and nephew and you're fucking pervert." She keeps doing the pervert thing.
Yeah. That comes back from a trip they took to Aruba.
Yeah, which we'll get there.
Yeah.
All right. So, yes, as Amanda said, John O'Keefe, I felt really bad for these kids because his sister died
Yeah.
and his brother in law died very shortly after. So,
So he
these
has his
kids
niece
were
and nephew.
orphaned. So, he took the niece and nephew and now he's dead.
Yeah. I feel
Like,
awful for these kids.
these poor kids.
And they were close to Karen too, because Karen says
Hmm.
she was doing a lot of the raising because John wasn't around.
Well, that's what Karen says.
That's what Karen says. But
Hmm.
still, now it's just these kids have had so much trauma in their life. I have a ton of empathy for them.
I do too. So, there were 53 or 55 calls from Karen Reed to John O'Keefe between 12:30 and 6 a.m. Wow.
I don't I can't imagine personally behaving in that way.
No.
I can't.
Karen says she fell asleep on John's couch and then she slept from 1:30 to 4:30. And I've been here where you kind
Yeah.
of wake up and you know you haven't slept. She's 100% not sober
No, of
when she
course not.
wakes up. They measured out, she had like 10 drinks.
Mhm.
She is a small woman.
Mhm.
Jesus Christ. And some of those drinks were like shots. Like it
Yeah,
was,
doubles and stuff. Yeah, she
yeah.
was drunk. I
Hmm.
mean, she woke up drunk.
Yep. She realizes he's not home. She calls him, and then she starts calling their friends.
Mhm.
So she calls Jen McCabe at 4:53. Jen McCabe testifies that Karen was screaming and that she told her they had a fight and she left him at the waterfall. And Jen says, "Karen, I saw you outside of my sister's." And Karen didn't remember going there. And Jen says Karen started yelling, "Could I have hit him? Did I hit him?" And then she tells Jen she has a cracked tail light. This is all very convenient.
This is very convenient.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Jen's story is just could not be better lined up to convict
Hmm.
this woman.
Karen just knows something is wrong and she makes a ton of calls, but as they point out later, she never calls 911 or as New Yorkers say 911.
Right.
She never calls 911.
Right. Yeah.
That's
But
kind of weird.
it is weird, but at the same time she's calling people who are related to cops, etc. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. So
I mean, if I had
Jen
a friend
says,
who's a cop and something happened to somebody, would I call 911 or would I call my friend? I'd probably call my friend.
yeah, I guess. But if those people didn't know where he was, I would maybe call the
Yeah, then I
cops.
might call 911.
Or I would call hospitals, like, I
Something.
no, you know who I would call? I would call the Alberts,
Yeah.
because that's where he was last seen.
Yeah. After he walked into your house, what happened?
Yes, and I get it, she doesn't know them, so call Jen McCabe and say, "Can you call the Alberts?"
Right.
And we don't know if she did say that,
Right.
because
Can
we can't trust Jen McCabe.
can can you three-way dial in your sister here?
Yeah, exactly. So Jen says, "You're hysterical. Come pick me up and I'll go look for John with you."
Mhm.
So Karen goes over there and she picks her up. At the same time, she's also calling Carrie Roberts, a mutual friend. So Carrie testifies, "Karen called me at 5 a.m. She hung up on me the first time.
Mhm.
Then she called me again and she says, 'I'm afraid John is dead. I'm afraid he may have been hit by a plow.'"
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And I remember talking when we talked about this with Ace and Caitlin, like,
Mm-hmm.
almost a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
I remember having to explain to them, like, plows could very easily hit somebody in the middle of the night.
Absolutely.
Very easily.
100%.
Yeah.
Yes. So Karen tells her, "I'm pulling into Jen McCabe's. Can you just come over here and we'll Scooby Doo gang this shit and we'll just go in one car,
Mhm.
whatever." But Carrie is weirdly insistent, Carrie and Jen McCabe, that they go back to John's. And Karen's like, "I remember thinking that was really weird because I just left there and he's not there."
Right.
But they were like, "You're hysterical and we need to see if maybe he came in and passed out somewhere and you didn't see him."
But she would have seen his well, he didn't have his car.
I feel like they were buying time.
I think they were buying time too.
So, because why wouldn't you immediately go to the Alberts
Yeah.
and
The
assume that
last
he
place
slept
anybody
there
saw
and
him.
assume that he slept there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be my if I were Karen and I woke up, like, let's say you and I live close to each other.
This I can stop you right there. This happened to me.
Yeah, I'm sure
When we
somewhere. Yeah.
first started dating, a couple times Timmy would go out and he would get real drunk, and whoever he was with, like he was at our friend Jean's house,
Mhm.
and Jean was like, "Give me your keys, you're staying here."
Yeah.
And Timmy would stay there and that was fine. Like I may have gone to sleep.
Right.
So the
And you
next
wake up in
morning
the
I get
morning.
up and I call him and he's like, "Hey, I'm here." Da da da. Yeah,
Right.
it's happened.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be like, "Oh my god, is he dead?"
Right. I'd be
You
like,
know
"Oh,
what I
he
mean?
probably passed out on my friend's
Yes.
couch." That's
Yes.
what I would
Yeah.
assume if I were Karen. He passed
Yeah.
out in the Albert house.
Yeah, but nobody acts that way.
And no one gets to go in the house.
Yeah, nobody acts like he could be in that house,
Right.
which is very interesting to me.
Me too.
So I
Because
wrote
John Achman would say he's in that house.
John Achman would say that.
Yeah.
So I wrote, "Why wouldn't they go to the Alberts first?" Oh, because how long does it take to die in cold?
Mhm.
Mhm. Mhm. So they go in John's house and Karen's like, "Yeah, yeah, he's not here. I could have told you that.
Right.
Let's go to 34 Fairview." Jen testifies that Karen is hysterical and that they pull up. And as soon as they approach the property, she sees him and she jumps out. It's almost like she knew where to look, according to Jen McCabe.
Mhm.
Jen and Carrie both testified they couldn't see him, but somehow Karen did.
Okay.
And it was dark and it was snowing.
Yeah. I don't
Ah,
believe a word out of Jen's mouth about almost anything.
I don't either. So this is the first question. How did Karen know where he was? Like this is
Mhm.
kind of the main
Mhm.
question that people are trying to wrestle with here. Karen claims that she did mouth to mouth,
Mhm.
and she says when she was doing mouth to mouth, she heard gurgling
Ugh, gross.
and thought maybe he was drunk and
Asphyxiated. Threw up
asphyxiated
and
on his own
swallowed his own
vomit.
vomit.
Right.
Yeah.
So she's yelling, "Roll him over," which is the right thing to do.
Mhm.
Carrie says, "No, don't move him in case his neck is broken," which is also the
Also
right
the
thing
right
to do.
thing to do. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So they're just screaming at each other.
Right.
Now Karen calls 911 because she's a tri-state area person.
Okay.
And is no, Massachusetts is not tri-state area,
No.
right? Tri-state is New York, New Jersey, PA.
Well, it depends on where you are.
Sh-
This Kim and
sh-
Kyle got in a whole lot of trouble for never knowing what a tri-state area is.
sh-
But
She's
so we're
a
not doing
New
that.
Englander, so she
She's in
says 911. She was there that day,
Sure.
RIP.
Sure.
So I don't mean she was at 911. I mean she was like in Massachusetts that day.
Right.
So guys, if you don't know what I'm talking about, when we covered the something's wrong with Aunt Diane or
Yeah.
whatever, the New Yorker, the first responder that they interview goes, "Yeah, so I called 911, you
11.
know? I called 911." I was like, "Only a New Yorker would say that."
Right.
Okay. So she says there's a guy unresponsive in the snow. Oh, I have Karen calls 911. It's Jen McCabe,
Okay.
right? Doesn't Jen
I
call
I
911?
think so.
Wait, I need to fact check myself
Okay.
in the moment
That's fine.
because I think that matters. Who called 911 with John O'Keefe?
See, this is where I'm having a challenge right now, Amy.
Okay.
I'm having a hot flash, but Leo's very comfortable,
Okay.
and what do I do? Do I suffer through and have him make me even warmer?
He's so cute. Okay, it was Jen McCabe who
Okay.
called. What I found weird about this is she goes, "There's a guy unresponsive in the snow."
Right. Not John O'Keefe, not
Right.
my friend,
Right.
a guy.
Yeah, I thought it was weird. She sounded totally calm.
Yeah.
And I also felt like I wrote, "A guy? Don't you mean your friend? Don't you mean John O'Keefe? Don't you mean even an officer?"
Right.
I don't know. Like,
Uh,
if I'm calling 911, and there's a cop down, I'm gonna say there is an officer hurt
yes.
because they'll get there quicker and they'll
They'll
bring the A team.
they'll prioritize
Yeah.
that one big
Yep.
time. Yeah. No, the only time I would use a guy in that situation is if it was a total stranger that I came
Yes.
upon and I
Right.
knew nothing of what happened.
Right.
There's a guy who, got hit by a car on the side of the road.
My dad once stumbled upon a dead body and had to call 911 and say there is a guy dead on the street.
Oh.
So that would be a case where you would have to do that. Yeah, the paper boy ran up to my dad. He was getting in his car in the morning for work. Paper boy runs up, "Mister, I think there's a dead guy down here." And they went down and the guy was dead.
Oh my god.
Yeah, yeah.
Ugh,
Mm.
that's terrible.
So, the responding officer calls it in. This is really interesting because he says, "We have a Boston police officer who was just found in the snow. He has some trauma to his head. I'm not sure if he was in a fight or whatever."
Mhm.
That was interesting
Yeah, not
because
that he got
these
hit by a car.
right, these guys are seasoned first responders. Like, they
Yes.
know what they're coming up
They
upon.
know what it looks like if somebody's gotten hit by a car versus if someone's been in a fight.
Mhm. So they pick him up. They pick John O'Keefe up off the ground, and under him is grass, which means he was placed there before it started snowing.
Mhm.
And his phone is under him.
Mhm.
Jen says Karen started yelling, "I hit him, I hit him, I hit him." Tommy Nuttall, which, wow, imagine going through school with that name.
That name, yeah.
Nuttall.
There's a lot of
Mhm,
names here that I'm
mhm.
like, "Ooh, these poor kids in elementary school, not good."
He's an EMT, and he says, "As I was ventilating, I asked what happened, and she said I hit him." Numerous accounts of her saying this by men and women who responded to the scene. "I hit him, I hit him, I hit him." She says she was so drunk that night that she was saying, "Did I hit him? Could I
Mhm.
have hit him?" She had 9 drinks before they left the waterfall. She argues that point. She claims some of them were doubles.
Yeah,
She had too many fucking drinks,
to
period.
be driving around.
Yeah. On Oh, we see a lot of footage of her from the dash cams when they
Mhm.
pull up, and we do see her running around screaming.
Yeah.
And she's screaming a ton of shit, but she is not yelling, "I hit him."
Nope.
The defense, Alan Jackson, picks this apart
Yes.
because they have video. And
Yeah.
he's like, "We never hear her say it on the video." And then he gets people to admit on the stand that they can't remember hearing it. See, it was kind of like a narrative that emerged.
I think someone said, "Oh, I heard her say I
Mhm.
hit him," so now everyone's saying I hit him. If anything, I can believe she could say, "Oh my god, did I hit him?" If anything.
I don't understand why that would even become a possibility.
I agree, but if she
That's
was
where I struggle with this case,
yeah,
like, right away. Just the idea that she would think she hit him, and
yeah.
she was the one who brought it up first,
Mhm.
is interesting to
It
me.
is interesting.
Um,
She
I
also
w
may or may not remember even going to the house, like, she was fucking trashed.
Another interesting part of this is that nobody in their reports from that night wrote that she said, "I hit him."
Mhm.
And they bring up a good point later. They're like, if she's there confessing to this crime,
Why
wouldn't
don't you
somebody
put
have
it
written that down and put her in handcuffs?
Yeah, why wouldn't you cuff her right that moment?
Yeah, it's
Or at
interesting.
least bring her into the station for questioning.
Yeah. So Karen calls her dad and she's threatening to harm herself. So her
Yeah.
dad calls another officer that's there. And well, he calls the station, they call the officer. And they're like, "We need to section her. Let's
Mhm.
section her," which means they're putting her on a mental health hold at the
Right.
hospital.
Mhm. Which is
Her
the right thing to do.
Yep, her father comes a few hours later. The medical people tell her dad that John is dead and he has to go in and tell her, and he says she just collapsed in his arms. Her brother says Karen quickly asked, "What's the plan?" And I thought this was really beautiful, the way that her brother described her,
Mhm.
because he goes, "Karen doesn't get lost in the loss. She finds a way out of it."
Yeah, I
I
think
thought that
that's
was really like it spoke to her strength.
and her resiliency.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep. I thought that
because
was
so
really
many people
interesting.
get lost in the lost in the
Yeah,
loss. Yeah.
including me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm lost in the loss that hasn't even happened yet.
That's why you need me.
I'm just sitting over here future suffering.
You are future suffering. Actually,
Yes.
I probably would I bet someone could describe me similarly, like, I
Yeah.
figure out the way out.
Yeah.
I may have a moment of wallowing, but then I'm like, "Okay, what are we doing about it?"
Yesterday we got the email for the tickets for graduation.
Oh, shit.
Okay. Guys, if you would have told me like your kids are going to be graduating in 2 months, I'd be like, "No, my kids are 8. What are you talking about?" Like I don't even know. I said to Timmy last night, they are graduating high school in less than 2 months. Where did the time go?
Mhm.
Timmy doesn't see it that way.
No,
He's like,
he's
"Oh, I know where the time went. Look at all this gray hair."
Look, between the 2 of us, we have
Yeah.
a lot of gray hair.
We've really aged.
How many
So
cars have we had to replace for these girls? Let's talk about it.
so now Karen gets out of the hold. Her dad comes and
Yeah.
gets her and they go to see the kids. She wanted to see the kids.
Mhm.
Again, would she go there if she knew she hit him?
No, I don't think
I
so.
don't think so. She says she asked John's brother, "What happened? What did John look like? What do you think happened?" And John's brother said, quote, "He looks like he went 12 rounds with Tyson." Current references only, brother. We see
Yeah,
you.
I see you. I
You're a
like
man
you.
of a certain age.
Yes.
We get it. And mom says, "It looks like he got hit by a car."
Hmm.
And Karen realizes in that moment that she is a suspect and she needs to GTFO. Get the fuck
Mhm.
out of there. Yeah. Okay. So episode 3 gets into the physical evidence. Episode 4 gets into the I think we need a break.
Okay. It's a
Okay.
good place to break.
It's a good place to break. In our part 2, which I'll drop right after this.
Electric Boogaloo, yes.
We will have episodes 3, 4, and 5, and then talk about our theories at the
Okay,
end. So
that
that
sounds
might
good.
be another 2-hour episode.
We'll see what
So
happens.
this one's almost an hour, and then we'll have like a 10-hour episode. So,
Whatever.
we're getting through it, guys.
We were gonna record this yesterday morning, guys, but Amy's like, "You have to go
No,
to work," and I'm off
no.
today for Good Friday, so we have
Yeah,
all afternoon.
yeah, yeah. So, guys, I appreciate your support. If you want to hear your episodes ad free, please go to, I have a new website,
Oh!
littlemissrecap.com/support.
Oh, I
Just
like
go
it.
there and that will take you to the places that you could support us.
Nice.
And we would really appreciate that.
We sure would.
On your $8 tier, you get all sorts of stuff. Everything's ad free, but
Mhm.
you also get Sister Wives. You're getting Gypsy Rose. You get
Sister
murder
Wives is
stuff,
back this
crime
week.
stuff. Sister Wives is back. We do
Mhm.
our full coverage on Patreon and
Yep,
Supercast and Apple subscriptions. And then we'll have a free preview out later in the week. But also, leave us a 5-star review.
that would be great. Or text this podcast to someone else who's a Karen Reed head.
Yeah, yeah. If you're like, want to hear these two idiots talking about Karen Reed, yeah,
Send it
go ahead.
over.
Hmm.
We appreciate it.
And finally, jump in our Facebook group, Backdoor Friends. It's a
Mhm.
wild time in there.
It's wonderful. We
Yeah.
talk about menopause, Match Factory, and anything else that's happening.
And murder.
And murder.
Oh,
Menopause, Match Factory, murder. It's the 3 M's.
this is a good time to talk about. I'll talk about the opening of next episode as well. But we have a poll that I did in our group.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I did a very informal poll and I just asked people, "Hey guys, can you weigh in on where you are in this case?" So the options are John O'Keefe was hit by Karen Reed accidentally,
Mhm.
13%.
Okay.
How many people responded? Hold on. 489 people
Okay, I was gonna say
responded.
last night
Okay.
before I went to bed, it was over 100.
Yeah. So 13% believe he was hit by Karen Reed accidentally.
Okay.
2% believe he was hit by Karen Reed purposely.
Okay.
68% believe he was killed in the Albert home and placed outside. 10% believe something else happened, but Karen Reed had nothing to do with it. And 7% believe they know nothing about this and they
Okay.
honestly don't know.
Okay.
So there we are.
Cool.
All right, guys. Thank you for listening and stay tuned for part two. Amanda, thank you.
Amy, thank you.
And we'll see you guys later.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.